Hello and welcome back to Boring Dad Gaming, where today we're going to be playing some more Tyrion Cuthbert, Attorney of the Arcane. I nearly called him Tyrion McCoy because this popped up just as I was speaking. Do you ever do that? You know, you're saying one thing, but then your eyes just catch something else, and what comes out of your mouth bears no relation to what you intended to say. But anyway, he's not Tyrion McCoy, he's Tyrion Cuthbert, and he's in a graveyard at the moment. Not quite sure why we're here, actually, but we're going to find out. As we know, we're about halfway through Chapter 2 at the moment. We have cast enough doubt on Wallace being responsible for the Professor's death. We're now investigating prior to the second stage of the trial tomorrow, so hopefully we're going to find some interesting clues to point us towards a suspect, a new suspect. I don't really have a clear idea of who it could be. I think Eris and the Headmaster are my two chief suspects at the moment, mainly because Eris is sketchy as all heck. But her presence between episode 1 and episode 2 kind of makes me feel like she may have a recurring role to play throughout the rest of the cases, so we'll see on that. But basically, my reason for suspecting both is that they both have illusion magic as their specialties. There could be other people involved as well. Anywho, let's dive in. Tyrion, what are we doing here? I'm not sure. For some reason, you felt drawn to this place. Wait, is that Eris? Celeste points further into the cemetery. There you see Eris standing in front of a gravestone. She's placing flowers on it and appears to be chanting a short prayer. Well, we found her. We should probably talk to her later. It would be rude to disturb her now. As you're about to leave, Eris suddenly turns to face you. She's far away, but you can see her beckoning you over.
Oh, hello there. Were you two looking for me?
Sorry, we were looking for you, but we understand if you'd rather talk later.
No, I was just finishing up here. Did you have something you wanted to talk to me about?
Well, we wanted to ask you some questions about the case.
Oh?
So we'll just talk about the trial first, I suppose.
That was my first time watching a court trial. You were truly remarkable.
Oh, thank you. Were you in the gallery?
I've always enjoyed watching physical battles in the theatre, but I see now that battles of wits can be just as entertaining to watch.
Entertaining?
Yeah, I know what you mean. You see the odds are stacked against him, but then he suddenly pulls out this crazy deduction and steers the trial in his favour.
I've never really thought of it like that.
But I'm sure it's more entertaining to be the one making the deductions.
I'm not really sure what you mean. I practice law so that I can help those persecuted by the justice system. I don't really do it to entertain myself.
But is that really true?
Don't you find the experience even the least bit entertaining, Tyrion? Did you see her face there? She is so sketch. I wouldn't really put it that way.
You're far too modest. You save people from the clutches of death. To your clients, you might as well be a knight in shining armor.
Illusion magic. Earlier you said that you were studying illusion magic.
I am. Did you want to ask me about the prosecution's theory?
Yes, actually. How did you know?
It was easy to guess after seeing you in the courthouse. Anyways, disguising an undead with an illusion is definitely possible. And as Lady Steelwind said, illusory disguise would be the best spell to use for that.
What if someone created a freestanding illusion?
A freestanding illusion?
Yeah, we know that Wallace didn't animate and disguise the Professor's corpse. So what if the illusion wasn't disguising anything? Maybe someone created a freestanding illusion of Bellwether walking around.
Well, for something like that, one would probably use major illusion.
Here we go, major illusion. It creates a three-dimensional illusion. The illusion can take the form of any object or creature that can be contained within a 10-foot cube. While concentrating, the caster can animate and move the image to a different location within range. The illusion is purely visual and can't be physically touched. Now, this is important. I noticed this with the other illusion spell. I was going to bring it up after this conversation, but this makes sense to do it now. We know from Jan the Janitor's, or the Janitor, as testimony that the version of Bellwether he saw knocked over a vase. That was the whole thing. She smashed into the vase. She talked to him. She said something like, "shut up," or something like that, and went on. So she interacted with the vase, she knocked it over, and also, I think the other one says it can't be audio? Oral? No? I don't know. You know what I mean. It can't be heard. It can't make sound. So I think we're along... Tyrion currently is moving along the wrong lines.
What is it?
I don't think major illusion is what we're looking for. Do you remember... Here we go. Do you remember what Jan said?
I was cleaning a mess in the hallways. Bellwether knocked over a vase, and there was shards and dirt everywhere.
If the bellwether that Jan saw was a major illusion, then she couldn't have knocked over that vase. Yeah, that's what we just said. Illusions created by that spell don't have any mass.
I see. How perceptive of you.
Aren't there any other illusion spells that do have mass?
No, illusions can only recreate
Auditory, that's the word I was looking for. Visual.
and auditory sensations. But there isn't a single illusion spell that someone can touch.
So that means
that someone disguised something to make it look like bellwether. Why, the look of suspicion, Celeste? Sorry, I wasn't... Calm down, I'm only joking. I don't blame you for considering every possibility. In fact, I'm flattered you think I'm capable of pulling off such an elaborate ruse. Anyways...
Oh, sorry, this is Tyrion. Anyways, this does tell us one important thing.
What's that?
The bellwether that Jan saw had a physical mass to it. It wasn't a freestanding illusion, it was someone or something disguised as bellwether. So here we go, Jan's statement. So let's remind ourselves here. 30 minutes before the Janus twins found the body, Bellwether walked past Jan in the West Wing hallway. He was in her path, so she shoved him out of the way. I'd forgotten that part. After that, she knocked over a vase and shattered it. Even though Jan didn't say anything to her, she yelled at him to be quiet. After this interaction, she walked in. I think that speech is going to be important as well, because I'm going to have to remind myself by looking at the spell, but I think the Animate Dead spell specifically says they can't be made to talk. So, yeah. After this interaction, she walked into Lecture Hall 2B. The bellwether witnessed by Jan Hughes must have been disguised with an illusion. In addition to that, whoever he saw that day was physically there.
It's quite a shame, isn't it?
Eris looks pensively at the gravestone. The name on the stone says Emily Grant, and her lifetime appears to have been awfully short. She must have only been 12 years old when she died. Sorry for interrupting you. Was she someone you knew?
Not personally. I'm actually here on Wallace's behalf. Wallace knew her. Wallace joined the academy as part of a program run by Headmaster Redmond. At the time, the headmaster was reaching out to mages among the common folk. He had started a program to admit these mages to the academy without having to pay tuition. Both Emily and Wallace were among those mages.
Wow, that must have been an amazing opportunity for them.
The truth is, neither of them actually cared about learning magic. The real problem was that Emily had a terminal illness. She and Wallace were poor orphans, and they obviously didn't have the resources to treat it. But if they enrolled in the academy
would be obligated to give her medical treatment.
The Imperial Academy teaches the best mages in the kingdom. They thought that curing her illness would be an easy task for the Academy's healers. But they were mistaken, I'm afraid. I'm sure you know this by now, but healing spells can only treat wounds. They can't cure illnesses. Emily's condition only got worse over the years, and eventually she succumbed to her illness. Wallace was furious. He didn't understand why the kingdom was outlawing magic that could save lives.
And that's why he decided to learn it himself.
Yes, the headmaster was inspired by Wallace's resolve. He gave him access to the Academy's forbidden tomes of necromancy, and Wallace taught himself the spells that he knows today. So that's why. It was supposed to stay a secret between him and the headmaster, but I'm sure you know how that turned out.
Okay, she is nuts. She's really freaky when she does that sort of glitch thing. Let's examine this area first. Let's look at the gravestone. It's the grave of Emily Grant. It's a shame that she died so young. You briefly say a prayer to Bahamut. It's a grave for an individual you don't know. It's best to leave it undisturbed, and there are probably others like that, I imagine. Anything to do with... we could detect magic. Oh, yeah. Nope. Okay. We can present her with some stuff, so... What does she think of this? Okay, so I think that the upshot of that was she didn't know anything about it. Yeah, so that's what she's going to say about everything, that she doesn't really have anything specific to say about this. I'm just going to kind of get her to talk about everything. Just in case something emerges. Did I do that one already? Can't remember. What about the smell? I'm gonna ask. Oop, hang on, back. Wait, let's ask her about the knights as well. Maybe some of the spells might be useful. So, this prestidigitation, I don't think that's relevant. Mend wounds we've kind of already discussed. This illusory disguise, so again, purely visible. Let's present the evidence of that. What about revive? Anything to say on that? Animate corpse. So here we go. Reanimates the target using life energy, creating an undead minion for the duration. Follows the orders, but its intelligence is limited and it cannot speak. The minion can end the spell prematurely, but will only do so if ordered by the caster. Once the spell is ended, the undead... So it lasts for... Okay, so it lasts for 8 hours, and Wallace would have had to have physically... You know, he would have had to specifically order the spell to end. But at that point, I think he was... We knew he was in the library, was he not? There's going to be some sort of timeline eventually, like when and where things happened. But I don't think it was possible for him to do all of that within the time frame. Once the spell is ended, the undead will return to being a dead body. Okay, so I think it's definitely not this spell, because there's too much to counter it. But she's not telling us anything specific about it at this point. Okay, well, she already told us about that. Okay, I think she's told us everything here, so let's move to a... Let's check the talk again. Okay, we're going to move back to a different location. We'll go to the foyer. Might be someone there to speak to. Oh, we can talk to Celeste, I suppose. There's still a lot we don't know.
Yeah. We know that Wallace didn't kill her, but did the true killer really murder her there?
Right, you'll need to go there to find out more. Okay. Next lead?
Where should we go next?
The prosecution believes that Wallace killed Bellwether in the library. We didn't really investigate that room the first time round. We might be able to find some new leads there. Yes, I'm going to examine this as well. It's a painting of a man with some sort of creature on his arm. There's some text underneath. Dr. Delbert Tafaros, a mage, historian, archaeologist, anthropologist, and botanist. Best known for his work in studying the history of the ancient dragons. Through his work, great leaps were made in the study and development of the school of evocation. On his arm is one of the last pseudo-dragons, which have now gone extinct. It's a statue. There's some writing on the platform. Gillian Chemnitz, the inventor of early artificery.
So this is the one who invented it. Who'd have thought that we could use machines to harness magical energy?
Artificery is truly a marvellous invention. With it, anyone can utilise the convenience of magic without having noble blood. Although, the expenses of owning artificery present their own barrier.
But that expression on his statue, it kind of looks like he doesn't want to be here, even though his statue is huge.
He does kind of give off that attitude, doesn't he? Painting of a professor with some kind of magical tool. Dr. Paul Vorela, also known as the archaeologist of the North. He spent many years studying and exploring the mountainous regions of Chardalon, and through his investigation he came upon one of the many lairs of the Scaled Lord. He was honoured both by the Church and the Wyvern Historical Society for this impressive discovery. Okay, let's detect magic, you never know. For a magical school, there's not many magical traces, is there? Okay, so anyway, let's move on to the library.
Oh, it's you, Mr. Cuthbert.
Steelwind, what are you doing here?
After what happened at the trial yesterday, I decided it'd be best to start my investigation here.
Right, Wallace was in the library for the entire morning, so it would make sense that she'd start her search here.
Actually, since I have you here, have you seen Eris Ilmater anywhere? It's my understanding that you're both acquainted with each other.
Eris? What do you want with her?
It's not for anything serious, mind you. It's just that oaf of a commander lost her spell compendium. Now we needed to produce another one for our records. If you see her, please let her know that we'd like to speak to her.
We saw her earlier in the cemetery nearby, but I've no idea where she is now. Ugh, once again I have to compensate for that idiot's mistakes. Anyway, I was wondering if I could ask you some questions about the case. Very well. I suppose I still need to honour our deal from earlier. Have you had any luck finding the scene of the crime? Unfortunately, I haven't. From the witnesses' testimonies, we have a rough idea of the route Bellwether took, but none of the rooms we've checked have any sign of a struggle. Why are you so sure that a struggle happened? I'm mainly basing that off of the Yana sisters' testimonies. Valerie in particular noticed that the bleeding came from a wound in her stomach. Regrettably, the body's wounds were mended, so we can't determine what kind of weapon the murderer used. During the trial, you mentioned that another witness saw Bellwether walking around yesterday. Would you be willing to tell us who that person is? I'm sorry, but I can't tell you that. You're caught a little off guard. You've been pretty transparent with your investigation so far. What's changed? I have no obligations to justify myself to you, nor do I have an obligation to help the opposition. Didn't we have a deal? Hiding information doesn't exactly seem fair to us. I believe I've given you plenty of information already. So regardless of what I said before, the answer is still no. Her family is dangerous. The Eye of Horus catches a stray thought from her. Her family is dangerous. What does that mean? Well, she's talking about Celeste, obviously. Is there something about this witness's family that you're worried about? No, this could be a feint. I'm sorry, but you'll have to try harder than that if you want to bluff me. She referred to the witness as her. I mean, it could have been referring... Oh, yeah, it could have been referring to the witness. I immediately thought she was talking about Celeste, but okay. Furthermore, she said that her family is dangerous. Why would she go to such lengths to hide the witness's identity? In any case, it looks like she's not willing to share more at the moment. Maybe we should try looking somewhere else. Yeah, let's investigate the scene first. Let's detect magic first of all. She hasn't been tremendously helpful so far, but we'll have a look around. It's the holy text from the Church of Bahamut. I read some of these with Eris earlier. I've been meaning to ask, do you guys worship dragons in Wivengard? I've never really been the religious type, but I've seen some devout worshippers in the capital. It's the most prominent religion here. The scaled Lord Rathalion is said to be the source of all arcane magic. It's no wonder that he's such a large part of our culture. It's a globe of the world. It's amazing how many other nations there are aside from Wivengard. I've been to most of these places. You should come with me next time, Tyrion. Isn't travelling through the border heavily restricted? Oh, don't worry, I won't report you. I can't exactly blame you for wanting to leave. The library is full of books for educational purposes. It's too bad they don't have any fictional books. Were you looking for a novel to read? Yeah, I was hoping they'd have some mystery novels I could read. You like mystery novels? Of course! Why do you think I like this job so much? Never really been a fan of the mystery genre. What? But your whole career is about solving mysteries. Exactly, it's exhausting. When I read a novel, I just want to read about simple fantasy stories and classic heroes. Well, I guess that makes sense. What about you, Steelwind? I don't really have time for such things. There are tables for students to sit at while they study. Oh, I don't think I can handle studying here day after day. Cut down their globes. Oh, what's that? Due to constant misuse of the Arcane Construct's voice systems, voice lines can now only be set by Headmaster Redmond. Is that why I can't make the Constructs say things? The Constructs speak using Professor Bellwether's voice. Unfortunately, that was an open invitation to many of the students. A lot of them ordered the Constructs to speak several obscenities using her voice. Why is Headmaster Redmond the only one allowed to set the voice lines? There were also rumours that several faculty members partook in these pranks. Oh, can't blame them for wanting to let off some steam. Kinda done. There's nothing really here, is there? Take magic again, just in case I did it wrong the first time. I don't think I'm doing it wrong. There's just nothing here to detect. Not sure about anything else. I could ask her about Jan's statement. I don't really know. Where else can we go? Oh, the locker room. Okay, didn't realise we'd go there. Let's move to that location then. You spend some time wandering through the academy when you overhear a conversation from a nearby room.
From what I understand, Miss Steelwind has already moved the investigation elsewhere. How long must I wait before I can retrieve my things? Sorry, old-timer. Orders are orders.
He's 64.
Nothing comes in or out until this case is over and done with.
Commander White and the headmaster too?
Oh, hello, Mr. Cuthbert. Hey, kid. In any case, there are other matters I must attend to. Please inform me when I can reclaim my things. Sure.
Looks like Commander White is standing guard in front of this locker room, and it doesn't look like he's conducting any sort of investigation. Is he here on Steelwind's orders? He might be able to tell you who the secret witness is. Let's examine first. Several lockers in this room. It'd be impossible to search through them all. You should speak with Commander White first. Alright, fair enough. What was the headmaster talking to you about?
Supposedly it's some items stored in one of the faculty lockers. Problem is, Steelwind said no one gets in or out of this room. Except for her and you two, apparently. She won't even let the other knights in here.
Really? Is that normal?
No, but things really are when she's calling the shots.
Why would she give you access to the crime scene if she wasn't even letting the knights in? Okay.
I don't know what her deal is, but she's been acting strange lately. She's been real paranoid, that girl. Frankly, I can't tell what's going on through her head.
You mentioned that the prosecutor has been paranoid lately. Do you think it has something to do with this case?
Nah, it started way before that. Lately, she's been using the Inquisition to investigate a lot of non-magical homicides.
What? Wouldn't it be easy to work with the relevant law enforcement for that?
I don't know why, but she's convinced that these cases have magic involved. But we scoured each and every one of those crime scenes, nothing turned up. I've got to say though, if it were for the scans, I might actually agree with her.
Why do you say that?
Those homicides, I haven't ever seen anything like them. They're probably some of the most screwed up cases I've ever handled. For one of those cases, we had ourselves a disgruntled spouse. She found out that her man was going around with the barkeep. And you know what the spouse does? She stalks the poor woman. She starts leaving threatening notes all around where she worked. The barkeep told the City Watch all about what was happening. But no matter how much they staked out the tavern, they can never catch the perp. Then one day, the barkeep arrived home. But little did she know, the spouse was waiting there for her. Poor lady never had a chance. Then to tie the whole thing together, the spouse waits for her husband to get home. He cooks him a big roast, using the barkeep's remains.
Yikes. Wow, that story is pretty...
I know. Steelwind thinks someone's developed a new type of magic that can control people's minds. And these homicides were some kind of sick test run.
Magic that can control people's minds. Well, that feels a bit like what Eris is doing, right? But wouldn't Mage Blight make more sense? Mage Blight. When a mage overuses their magic, it can have pretty bad consequences on their mind. They temporarily lose grip of reality and begin seeing things that aren't there. When a mage becomes like that, it almost never ends well. They enter a frenzy and begin firing spells randomly, which only makes it worse.
I've seen my fair share of Mage Blight cases, and this isn't like that. Not all of the perps were mages, and the ones that were didn't even use their magic. One thing was that each of the perps almost seemed to wake up after we arrested them. All of them said things like, "It wasn't me," or "I didn't have a choice," or
They didn't have a choice. What could that mean?
"I doubt it means anything." Sometimes people can't face the things they've done. It's easier to say that you had no control and take responsibility.
You wonder if you can mislead the commander into revealing who the secret witness is. During the trial, Miss Steelwind mentioned that someone other than Jan Hughes saw Bellwether walking around. Have you seen them around lately? We wanted to speak with them.
Nice try, kid. Well, it was worth a shot. Honestly, I couldn't tell you if I wanted to. I don't think anyone other than Steelwind knows who this witness is. I sure as hell don't.
What? She's even hiding it from the Inquisition commander? Why is she being so secretive? Looks like the commander doesn't know who the secret witness is either. Oh, this isn't getting us anywhere. Steelwind's behaviour is strange, though. Perhaps you could try analysing her behaviour. If you do that, you might be able to find a way to convince her to help you. Okay, Steelwind's behaviour has been strange this time round. She's hiding elements of the case, even from the commander. Anyone can tell that she doesn't have much faith in him.
Well, I'm standing right here.
But this is the first time I've seen her hide key details of a case from him. What is motivating Steelwind to keep secrets? There has to be a reason why she's being so secretive. Well, I imagine it's paranoia. Her actions must be driven by paranoia. She's been hoarding information about the case. There's only one reason why she wouldn't utilize the Inquisition like she usually does. It's because she doesn't trust them.
I hate to say it, but that doesn't really surprise me. She's always been standoffish with us.
But there is one exception. Who is Steelwind trusted for this case? There are individuals who she's trusted more than the Inquisition during this case. It's us. She let us investigate the crime scenes without any restrictions. Yeah, I never really thought about that. Does she trust us that much? I don't think personal trust is the reason. We don't usually interact with her, and she's worked with the Inquisition on plenty of cases that we weren't even involved in. I think it's to do with the nobility, isn't it? Tyrion isn't a member of the nobility. Okay. Maybe it's his. Maybe... I want to say the Inquisition. Steelwind doesn't know much about us, but she does know that we aren't prone to noble corruption. Right, you indicted a noble during the last case. Meanwhile, the Inquisition usually bends to the nobility's whims.
Well, I can't argue with you there.
Member of the nobility. Using my insight, I could tell that she's worried about the witness's family. And if she's worried about corruption from the nobility, that can only mean one thing. The witness is noble. The witness has to belong to a noble family. That's why she's so wary of interference. We're obviously not going to do anything corrupt. Why is she hiding the witness's identity from us? You recall seeing a thought through the eye. They're dangerous. The family is dangerous. I think she's worried about our safety.
Yeah, well, I guess harassing a noble could put you in danger. But,
I'm the protege of the infamous Ruby Tamora. Yeah, it's not as if we aren't already on the nobility's bad side. I'm sure the Pierce family still has it out for us. This can only mean that the family we're dealing with is even more powerful than House Pierce. If the prosecutor is wary of them, they could even be as powerful as the Steelwinds.
Wait, don't tell me you think we're dealing with one of the Four Pillars.
Four Pillars? It's a name people use for the top four noble houses. These families stand at the top of the kingdom's aristocracy. If I recall correctly, the Four Pillars are House Freyga, House von Sanctus, House Sybil, and House Steelwind. Okay, well, we can rule out that, because it's not a member of her own house. I think we would have divined that already. House Freyga is ringing a bell with something that was said previously, but I can't remember why. Steelwind is a part of one of them?
Yeah, which makes it so much weirder that she's serving as a prosecutor.
Okay.
What is it? Steelwind's weird behaviour all started after she investigated this room. We were at the crime scene and she left to follow a lead, but an hour later she came back to the lecture hall and booted everyone out.
Her behaviour changed after investigating this room. That means that she found something here. And that something must point to the family from the Four Pillars. The commander looks a bit anxious.
You know, Steelwind's orders say I can't snoop around here. But you two, on the other hand...
Don't worry, just leave it to us.
I have some school records that say which locker belongs to which student. You can use it to tell whose locker you're looking at.
Okay, so if we do examine... Oh, there's an arcane construct in the back here. It's probably here to aid the students. Anyways, I don't think it's relevant to our investigation, but perhaps you should make a small note of it anyway. Okay. You use the legend that the commander gave you. You look carefully across the list and find some notable student names. Okay, well, let's work through these names. Miriam Was Sybil one of the names? I think it was as well, wasn't it? Now, the interesting thing about these locker labels is that when we spoke to Wallace in the prison, he mentioned that a lot of them who were bullying him at the school like to swap his locker with other people's. So I don't know if that might well come up. That's something we need to bear in mind. But let's have a look through these now. You open Wallace's locker. Inside, you find a bottle of fragrant liquid and something that looks like a makeup kit. Clearly not his locker, is it? Ah, didn't expect Wallace to use stuff like this. It does seem strange, but it's not your place to judge. Anyway, you should try looking through the other lockers. You use the legend that the commander gave you. Okay, so we got Miriam Frege. You open the locker with Miriam Frege's ID number. Inside, you find a stack of worn-out textbooks and notebooks. Wait a minute. These notebooks all have Wallace's name on them. You open the notebook and look through its pages. It appears to be research on the art of necromancy. These are Wallace's notebooks. But why are they in Miriam Frege's locker? Did Miriam steal his things? No, they swapped their labels around. What's going on here? You and Celeste check the locker more thoroughly. Wait a minute. Tyrion, take a look at this. That's blood. There's a stain of blood inside the locker with Miriam Frege's ID number. You use the legend that the commander... Okay, so let's go to Jaden. You open Jaden von Sanctus's locker. Inside, you find several bottles of some kind of transparent lotion. There's nothing but lotion in here. Oh, I wonder why a student would need this much lotion. I don't want to speculate. You take one of the bottles to inspect it more closely. Wait, Tyrion, don't touch those with your hands. Some kind of sanitizing liquid. It's a little strange, but it doesn't seem to be related to the case. Maybe he's a germaphobe. Use the legend that the commander gave. Okay, yeah. Warren Sybil. You open Warren's locker. Inside, you find some textbooks and a neatly stacked deck of tarot cards. Oh, it's like those cards that fortune tellers use. I wonder if this student studies divination magic. But anyway, I don't think this is related to the case. Okay, well that's all of the lockers. We found a few things, but I can't really make sense of any of it. We should look at this from the prosecutor's perspective. Steelwind found something in one of the lockers. Whatever that was, it made her extremely paranoid. I mean, we're going to have to say Miriam Frege, but the thing is Oh no, we're going to have to... Yeah, Miriam Frege, but the thing is it's not her locker. It's Wallace's. No matter how we look at it, we found some insanely suspicious things in Frege's locker. It headed Wallace's notebooks and even some blood. But that blood is certainly strange. It implies that something bloody was stored there. Do you think somebody stole it? No, actually, I think it was Steelwind who took it. Oh, right. Tori mentioned that she investigated this room. She must have taken the bloody item as evidence. Now, what if someone is framing Miriam by putting the murder weapon in what they thought was Miriam's locker, but in fact we know it's Wallace's locker. And Wallace would have known that it was Wallace's locker. So it's somebody else, I think. But with that said, there's something else strange about Miriam Frege's locker. It had a lot of Wallace's possessions. It's possible that she really did steal these items from him. No, Tyrion. But it's more likely that this locker isn't actually hers. There we go. Remember what Wallace told us before. Sometimes the other students would steal the ID number off of my locker. Then they'd switch it with the number of another locker. They thought it was funny whenever the student who owned that locker got angry with me. So someone switched the nameplates? This means that this isn't Miriam Frege's locker, it's Wallace's. But that would mean that the bloody object came from Wallace's locker. It appears so. Yeah, good. Well, I'm glad they've updated that anyway, and I haven't had to do that in a courtroom, because it was pretty obvious. But if that's true, why didn't Steelwind present the bloody item during the trial? I proved that Bellwether was wounded before Valerie healed her. Wouldn't that have been the perfect time to present what she found? It was a bloody item found in the defendant's locker, after all. She could have easily proved that the nameplates were switched too. Right, that is weird. There's something more to this that you aren't seeing, but what? I think we'll just have to ask Steelwind ourselves. Can I go back and examine? Does it have to be the... Okay, I was hoping to use the magic detect thing. Nothing else to ask him. What if we tell him about this evidence in the locker? Oops. Okay, move. That's fine. So we could go and speak with Steelwind again, maybe. Oh, you're back? We've uncovered a few things during our investigation. Miss Steelwind, are you acquainted with a student named Miriam Frege? I underestimated him. I said it before, Mr. Cuthbert. I won't fall for such an obvious bluff. It's not a bluff, Miss Steelwind. And I'll prove it using the evidence we've gathered. Okay. So let's present evidence in the locker, I suppose. What do you think about this? Oh, okay. Hang on. I was surprised to see you conducting the investigation, Steelwind. Why aren't you leaving things to Commander White? Please, I can barely trust that oaf to get me coffee properly. After last time, I feel much more confident overseeing the investigation myself. The Inquisition doesn't seem to be helping her at all. They're just standing by while she does all the work. Oh, I thought that was something we'd already done. This is what we gotta do. Steelwind is paranoid, and for whatever reason, it's due to the involvement of Miriam Frege. If you could convince her to reveal why she's being so secretive, she might give you more information.
Argument.
You've been behaving strangely, Steelwind. Let's look at her profile. She is extremely logical and won't accept arguments that aren't supported by evidence. However, she has become secretive lately, and her actions seem to stem from paranoia. She's uneasy about case elements that relate to Miriam Frege, and she's very inclined to hide Frege's involvement from the court at all costs. Even the Knights of the Inquisition have noticed. Please, just tell me, why are you being so paranoid? I'm not sure what you're trying to imply, Mr. Cuthbert. Nothing about my behaviour has changed. I've approached this case objectively, just like I have with every other case.
Liar!
I mean, it's that one, isn't it? You've ordered the Knights to stay away from the crime scene, and you've even taken it upon yourself to conduct the investigation yourself. That is not normal behaviour for a prosecutor. I took those actions because the Inquisition is incompetent. How could I possibly trust them with anything? The Knights are incompetent, but even you can see the value of delegation. During Celeste's case, you still delegated tasks to the Inquisition, and you could have easily investigated the McCoy Tavern yourself. This academy is huge. You wouldn't conduct your investigation this way unless you had good reason. Then why don't you enlighten me? Why would I act in such a way? What would cause me to behave so strangely? Is it to do with the Four Pillars families? You know that the Inquisition is corrupt and will bend to the nobility. So what would happen if a powerful noble were publicly involved in this case? With that noble's influence, they'd probably order the Inquisition to conceal their involvement. A high-profile noble is involved in this case, Steelwind, and I believe that noble is Miriam Frege. Again with this, do you think you can bluff me by throwing out the names of random nobles? Not every noble is a malevolent criminal like Garrick Pierce. I said it before and I'll say it again. Okay. Nothing about this case has anything to do with House Frege. Well, that is wrong. Then how do you explain this, Steelwind? The commander told us that you were following a lead in the locker room yesterday. We investigated the lockers of students from the Four Pillar families. We found stains of blood in a locker with Miriam Frege's ID number, and it was presumably left by a bloody object. The bloody object was taken by someone, and we heard that you became extremely paranoid after you found something in the locker room. If I had to guess, I'd say that you took the bloody object as evidence. And what evidence do you have to support these outrageous claims? What? The only thing you have evidence of is a bloodstain? There is a myriad of explanations for that. Everything else you mentioned is pure speculation. I could have found any number of things in that room, or possibly nothing at all. Won't accept arguments aren't supported by evidence, become secretive and paranoid. Uneasy to about case elements relate to Miriam Frege, which is very inclined to hide Frege's involvement. Yes, okay, threaten. You found an object in the locker with Miriam Frege's nameplate on it. If you don't present what you found to the court, I'll have no choice but to pull the owner of that locker onto the stand. That's ridiculous. We both know that the locker in question belongs to Wallace Nightgrave. Can you unequivocally prove that, Miss Steelwind? Because the way I see it, there's a lot of room for doubt there. Enough doubt for me to pull Miss Frege onto the witness stand. But if I had more context, maybe I wouldn't have to resort to that. Well played, Mr. Cuthbert. I suppose I don't have a choice, do I? You've successfully persuaded Arya Steelwind. Alright, let's talk about the truth.
Just so we're clear, I wasn't acting to protect the nobility, but I'll admit that Miriam Frege was the other witness that saw Bellwether that day.
I see. I had some suspicions, but...
There's also another matter.
Steelwind looks uneasy.
When I was investigating the body, I found this.
Evidence of academic dishonesty. A tightly packed folder containing several documents. The documents contain evidence detailing multiple instances of plagiarism, fraud, bribery of school officials, and other various offences committed by Miriam Frege. What the...
It looks like Miriam's been cheating at school.
But why would Bellwether have something like this?
From the way it's arranged, I think it might have been blackmail. Miriam Frege is considered a prodigy in the practice of conjuration magic. She's won a litany of awards, and she will most definitely graduate with honours. If these files were to reach the public, it would absolutely ruin her reputation.
Do you think that the professor was trying to threaten her?
It appears so. When I discovered this, several elements of the case were still unknown. I decided to look through her belongings, and I mistakenly looked through the locker with her ID. I found this in that locker.
A bloody rapier. A rapier covered in blood. It was found in Wallace Nightgrave's locker. Apparently it's a valuable family heirloom to House Frege. It was reported stolen by Miriam Frege weeks before the murder.
It's very likely that this is the murder weapon. This rapier is a valuable family heirloom for House Frege. A few weeks ago, Miriam reported that the rapier was stolen from her room.
Then it was found in Wallace's locker.
Not that I'm complaining, but why didn't you present this in court?
To be honest, I'd like to avoid involving House Frege by any means necessary.
I knew it, you're just protecting her, aren't you?
Miss McCoy, do you recall how Wivengard's justice system works? To acquit a defendant, you need to unequivocally prove that they didn't commit the crime. To do that, they either need a solid alibi,
or we need to prove that someone else committed the crime.
What do you suppose will happen if you bring Miriam Frege onto the stand? House Frege won't allow one of its members to be indicted in a court of law. They'll plan and forge evidence to implicate your defendant, and they'll use the Inquisition to do so.
So that's why you've been keeping them away from the investigation.
Can't you do anything? The Steelwinds are powerful too, aren't they?
I don't have the support of my house. Right now, I'm just a prosecutor, nothing more.
Steelwind, you know this isn't fair for us. Just do nothing. Do nothing and let us win.
Celeste.
If we can't go after Miriam, then you can at least help us save Wallace.
I'm not gonna do that.
Why? What if Miriam Frege is the real killer? Her sword is the murder weapon and Bellwether was trying to blackmail her.
I seem to recall another case where an innocent person's sword was used to frame them.
That's...
As a prosecutor, it's not my place to decide who's guilty and who's not. I won't engage in corruption, even if it's to counter corruption from another noble house. I'm sorry.
Do you know where Miriam is right now?
Didn't you hear what I just said? You can't let her think there's even the slightest possibility you'll indict her. She'll bring the entire wrath of House Frege down upon you.
Regardless, I can't do anything for Wallace unless I know everything that happened. Frege is the last piece I need to put everything together.
Well, I suppose I don't have much of a choice, do I? Her dormitory is room 107. I imagine that she'll be there considering that classes are suspended.
Thank you, Steelwind.
If I don't tell you, I'm sure you'll probably just find out using some other means. Please, Mr. Cuthbert, be careful.
Alright, let's go. You follow Miss Steelwind's directions and find Miriam Frege's dorm room. The door leading inside seems a lot more ornately decorated than the other dorms. You go to knock on the door, but you don't realise that it's only partially closed. As your fist comes into contact with the wood, you accidentally push the door wide open. Ah, yeah, she was the one arguing with Steelwind before, wasn't she?
Excuse me? How dare you barge into my room?
These insects have no respect.
Sorry, I meant to knock, but... Construct, remove these hoodlums from my room.
Now, this is supposed to be Australian, hang on.
Acknowledged?
From the corner of the room, an arcane construct stands up and starts making its way towards you. Before you can protest, it raises its fist to hit you. Oh, Celeste. You don't even have time to raise your arms and brace yourself for the impact. You close your eyes and wait for the blow, but instead you hear the clang of steel against steel. Confused, you open your eyes and see Celeste standing between you and the construct. Her sword is drawn and she's using it to block the construct's fist. Upon taking a closer look at Celeste, the student stares curiously at her.
Construct, stand down.
Acknowledged.
I'm terribly sorry for that. I wasn't aware that this was your servant.
Celeste looks angry but puts away her sword without a word.
I haven't noticed you around campus. Are you a new student?
If she has a personal attendant, she must be important.
What?
You see an opportunity. Yes, my master just enrolled here recently.
What?
Celeste gives you a puzzled look, but you make a silent gesture back. After a moment, she seems to realise what you're doing.
Yes, I just started here. I take it you're Miriam Frigga. Yes, I'm honoured that you recognise me. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, miss. I'm Celeste
She catches herself and pauses for an awkward moment.
Steelwind. I'm Celeste Steelwind.
You can't believe her. There's no way she's going to believe.
Steelwind? It's a pleasure to meet another member of such an esteemed house.
She must be from a branch family. Maybe I can use her. Wait, she's actually buying this? So I like the quote-unquote around Steelwind on her little text window here.
I just moved in. I thought I should introduce myself. Seeing as you're a top student in the field of conjuration.
Conjuration? What does she say? I missed that. Did she say it wrong? Conjuration.
Yes.
Well, there's no backing out now. Alright, let's start by talking to her, shall we? Miss Frigga, I was wondering if I could ask you some questions about...
Excuse me, I don't believe anyone has permitted you to speak.
Oh, here we go. Celeste is still smiling, but you can faintly hear her grinding her teeth together.
So, we heard what happened to Professor Bellwether. Can't believe it. Yes, it's quite tragic what happened to her. She's always been an acquaintance of House Frigga.
She appears to be more receptive to Celeste. It might be better to let her take the lead on the questioning. Okay, the murder.
We heard that you saw her on the day of the murder. Could you tell us more about what happened? Oh, you heard about that from your relative, did you? If you don't mind me asking, why are you so interested?
She's not like Arya, is she?
Oh, I'm just curious is all. You know how uneventful life can be sometimes? Being a noble and all.
Alright, tone it down.
Oh, is that all? I was worried you were going down the same path as that poor, confused Arya.
What does she mean by that?
But I'm in the middle of a study break anyways. I suppose I have some time to sate your curiosity. Construct, please prepare us some tea. Use that lotus tea we imported from the Eastern Kingdoms.
She could be useful if I can win her favour. Acknowledged.
Lotus tea? You have lotus juice?
You feel like you're slowly losing control of the situation. What did you see?
I heard that you saw the professor on the day of the murder. Where did this happen? Oh, I was in the hallways when I saw her coming out of the headmaster's office. She was heading towards the library. Do you remember what time this happened? I'm not really sure, honestly. It's all a little embarrassing, but I have a bad habit of getting too absorbed in my work. Sometimes I let entire hours pass by without noticing.
Do you have a rough idea, at least?
I think it was in the morning.
She thinks it was in the morning.
But anyways, did anything seem off about her? No, it was a short encounter.
Oh, she's anxious.
I merely greeted her, and she responded in kind.
Or at least that's what should have happened.
That thought just now, what does it mean?
You slowly glance at Celeste and catch her attention. In small motions, you shake your head to indicate that Miriam is holding something back.
Were you and the professor really on good terms? I heard she was pretty mean towards the other students. Oh, towards the riffraff maybe, but not to students like us. She was a great ally to House Frigga.
Or at least, she used to be.
That's why we were planning on appointing her as the new headmaster.
Wait,
what did you just say? Did you just say that your family was going to appoint Bellwether as the new headmaster? Oh, I'm surprised you didn't know. House Frigga holds several seats on the Academy's board. We were making plans to have her replace that lout Redmond.
They were going to sack the headmaster? It's got to be him.
Did Headmaster Redmond know about this? Oh, of course not. This was part of a large-scale plan. Along with Redmond, we were also going to replace all of the staff members with arcane constructs. We had to keep everything under wraps, or else the help would have left prematurely. And where would that leave us?
But Jan supposedly overheard Bellwether talking about the constructs. Did Bellwether prematurely reveal the plan, or was Jan lying about how he found out?
But alas, with Bellwether gone, we'll have to delay our plans.
Okay.
So we heard that Arya took your rapier as evidence for the case. Can you believe her? She still won't give it back to me. My father will have my head if I can't get it back soon.
How did it even become part of the investigation anyway?
I don't know. Arya won't tell me anything. I swear if that necromancer was the one who stole it, I'll execute him myself.
So someone did steal it from you?
Yes, from right out of my room.
When did this happen?
About a few weeks ago. I noticed when I came back from one of my classes. Someone removed the rapier from its display case in my room.
How did they get into your room in the first place?
Do you think someone used magic to teleport past the door? Please, I'm a master of conjuration magic. If someone attempted that, my enchantments would have shunted them out.
That means the thief came through one of the doors or windows.
I bet it was that necromancer. I'm sure a street child like him just knows how to pick a lock.
She's putting on a brave face. Your grades.
I've heard that you're one of the Academy's top students. Your grades must be amazing. Of course, as an inheritor of House Frege, my grades are impeccable.
Feels good to have my greatness recognized. That's strange. You don't see anything contradictory through the eye this time. Make a gesture towards Celeste to continue pressing her.
Oh, what kind of magic do you study here? Oh, you must be joking. I study magic from the School of Conjuration. Just like, well, most members of my house.
A school of conjuration? That's the type of magic that specializes in spatial manipulation and teleportation, right?
Yes, I consider myself quite the expert in that field. Why, the Crown Prince himself has asked for my assistance in a research study.
It's nice to work with someone of my caliber. Again, you don't see any thoughts that contradict what she's saying. Does that mean she's not lying? If she's smart enough to get the Crown Prince's attention, why would she be cheating?
You said something about my wayward relative before. Were you talking about Arya? Oh, I'm terribly sorry if I offended you. But I'm sure it must pain you to see the way that she's been acting lately. Yes, it's been extremely hard.
Hang in there, Celeste.
Did you know that she even interrogated me about the murder yesterday? Can you believe it? Steelwind running around a crime scene like a common knight? Why, if I tried something like that, my father would disown me.
Does the nobility not approve of Steelwind becoming a prosecutor? Obviously not. You always thought that it was strange. What is motivating her to do this?
Honestly, she probably thinks she can do anything just because of her betrothed.
Asta deserves better. We haven't heard about Asta before, have we? Celeste's eyes perk up upon hearing this. You'd be lying if you weren't also curious about who this Asta is. But you shoot her a stern look that tells her to stay focused. You can't risk blowing your cover for some gossip.
Keep going. You have an arcane construct in your room. I thought they only had them in the library in the locker room. Oh, this construct was a gift from House von Sanctus. I have to say, they're quite convenient to have around. They look really cool. Maybe I should get one. Oh, you should. A construct would be far more useful than this attendant of yours. Unfortunately, there are still some issues with their intelligence.
Their intelligence?
There are issues when you give them complex commands. It might be easier to show you.
Miriam turns to the construct and begins gesturing towards it.
Construct, please retrieve my textbooks and bring them here. Then cast Steelwind Strike at this location. After that, retrieve some plates and set them out at this table.
Acknowledged.
What?
The construct stands up and retrieves Miriam's textbooks from one of the shelves in the room. It brings them to the table you're sitting at, just like she ordered. But then it suddenly stops moving.
Wait, what happened? Oh, the construct obviously can't cast Steelwind Strike, so my second command was impossible to carry out. But did you notice something else? It ignored your third command too. Correct. My third command was possible to carry out.
So why did it ignore that command?
Constructs execute a series of commands in the order that they are given. But let's say one of those tasks is impossible to complete. When the construct gets to that task, it will deem the entire series impossible to complete. As a result, it will stop executing the series altogether.
So if a task in a series of commands is impossible, then that command will interrupt the sequence of commands.
Exactly.
Now, this is interesting, because I didn't voice this earlier, but as soon as this case started up and the murder had happened, I wondered, because there was a construct, right, in that lecture room. And I was wondering, could someone have used that construct to kill the professor, potentially? And it's possible, right? I don't quite know who or how yet, but hopefully we'll get a chance to maybe, because they contain a log, don't they, of the commands they've been given. So hopefully we can get a chance to have a look at one of those, maybe? Lady Steelwind, I'm afraid we must leave now if we want to make our next engagement.
Oh, right. Let's go, servant. Oh, leaving already? It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, sure. Hope to see you around. You make your way back to the foyer with Celeste. With all the time you've spent, you only have a brief amount of time before night falls.
Are you sure you didn't want to talk to her more? We were getting a lot out of her.
Well, we already got a lot of useful information out of her. The more time we spend with her, the more likely she is to see through our ruse.
Right.
So why Steelwind?
I don't know, I panicked. Arya is like the only noble I know.
What about Pierce?
I'm not using that creep's name.
Well, hopefully Steelwind doesn't mind us borrowing her name.
And we got her statement on what she saw that day. And there's also what she said about her rapier. I bet she was lying when she said it was stolen. She was probably trying to establish an alibi.
I'm not so sure.
Why do you say that?
Doesn't it feel too obvious? If she was lying about the rapier being stolen, that would imply that she planned all of this in advance. But if she had to choose a murder weapon, why would she choose something that literally has her name on it? I'd understand if the murder was a spur-of-the-moment decision, she might have just used something nearby in that case. But if this was a premeditated murder committed by Miriam, that rapier would be the last weapon she would choose.
Right, I guess that makes sense.
There's also the evidence of academic dishonesty. It doesn't match up with what we heard from Miriam.
You mean all that stuff about working with the Crown Prince? She was probably just making things up to look good in front of me.
I have an insight when it comes to things like this. Under normal circumstances, I can usually tell when someone is lying. And a lie as grandiose as that would be something I would definitely see through. People can subconsciously shield themselves from the eye of Horus, even if they don't know about it. But when they do that, you usually can't see any thoughts from them. You also saw that she was lying about her encounter with Bellwether. You would have seen dissonant thoughts if she was lying about her grades.
Well, I guess I'll trust your insight. But what does this mean?
I don't know. Even with everything we found, I'm still not sure who the real culprit is. At the very least, I think we should still try to pull Miriam onto the stand. If she testifies in court, I might be able to find something I can use. But that's a big maybe. If you don't play your cards right, you might spook the Friegas enough for them to pay off the judge.
Either way, it's getting late. We'll probably have to turn in soon.
Yeah, you just hope you did enough to acquit Wallace. Okay, well, I guess we'll save. Let's go down to slot 4. Okay. Mumble, 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 mumble. Okay, but I think that's probably a good place to leave it for now. So when we come back next time, we'll handle this. I don't even know if it's going to be the end of the case because I feel there's a lot more to investigate. It's possible that might follow on into a third case. I don't know, but we'll do the next trial part anyway in the next episode. So I hope you've enjoyed this one. If you have, if you could hit that thumbs up button, that'd be very much appreciated. And leave me a comment as well with any theories as to what happened. I mean, there's a lot of sus stuff going on. I mean, leaving aside Eris for the moment, who is just the most sus person in the game so far. Let's just put that to one side and assume that maybe she's not directly involved in this murder. I think she's going to be a recurring character in upcoming cases, though. I think it's something to do with the constructs. There's something unusual that was introduced quite early. They seem to work in a very specific way. They also have records of the way they act. We know that I don't know if Bellwether was in on the plan to replace the headmaster, but certainly the headmaster may have learned that plan was in place. So I feel like it could be something to do with him and the constructs. We know that he is the only one who can change the not change the commands, change the voice recognition. I'd have to look at our evidence to know exactly, but the headmaster is the only one who can do a certain thing with the arcane constructs to make them act in a certain way, I think. So that's worth investigating, which we haven't done yet, which makes me think this won't be the end of this case, but we shall see. So yeah, leave a message, let me know what your thoughts are anyway. I'm just thinking aloud, really. And if you've enjoyed this and haven't yet subscribed to the channel, would be amazing if you could do so. So thanks very much, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.